Sure, absolutely.
Right, Dan. How are you doing, Dan?
Yeah, good, mate. How are you?
Well, first of all, the hat. Can you please explain it? Is it a Hunter S. Thompson?
It is, absolutely. It's a tradition when I come to Vegas. I always shoot down to Fremont Street on my first night, pick up one of these bad boys. It just gets me in the mood, especially when I'm playing a media role this week. So Hunter S. Thompson is a good person to channel.
I would agree. And is it green for Ireland, or is it just green because it's green?
It's green for reptiles. It's green for reptiles. To be honest, I've got a red, a blue, and a green one at home, and I was going to get a different colour today, but they didn't have any, so I went with the green.
Oh, very good. Well, hat out of the way. Let's turn to the business at hand. Conor McGregor meets Khabib Nurmagomedov this Saturday night. You've already done extensive breakdowns on the fight. Can you tell people at home, you know, it's a striker versus a grappler. What are they missing here? What's the underlying story that people aren't appreciating in this fight?
Ultimately, I think it's the deficit in each fighter's game. You know, there's a perceived deficit in both fighters' games. The perceived deficit that Khabib might not be able to take a shot as well as people think. Obviously, with the Michael Johnson fight, I don't believe that for a second. I mean, he walked through that shot. He won that fight in dominant fashion. He's never been dropped. He's never lost a round. So I think we can put that to one side. Conor's ground game is another question that people have been asking. But you know, when you throw an X-guard sweep on a black belt in the first round, like he did against Nate Diaz, you can't underestimate someone's ground game. Conor's got the skills on the ground he needs in this fight. It's the conditioning which is the question for Conor, and for me the question for Khabib is his footwork, because in order to get his hands on Conor, he has to transition through that danger zone, and that's where Conor's expertise is, holding people at the edge of that range and punishing them when they step into it. So there are questions about both fighters. I think, you know, if Khabib can transition through and get his hands on Conor, then the question about Conor is, you know, can he keep up with Khabib's wrestling pace? Can he last through those scrambles? Can he defend multiple takedown attempts? And then on the other side, you know, with Khabib, is he going to walk onto a left hand? Because Conor's excellent at setting traps, and really that's the question for me.
So would you agree that this fight could be decided in the range Khabib has to close? You know, he has to get his hands on Conor, and it's in the space he has to cover that Conor can clip him. Is that where this fight's decided?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about Conor maintaining range, and that's, I mean, that is the one thing that he's shown in his career that he's probably better at than anybody else in the sport. You know, he's got so many long range techniques. That lead chop kick he uses, you know, he's very good at creating this imaginary barrier to his striking. So anybody that steps into that, they're doing it on his terms. They're either stepping in and he's dropping back to counter like he did against Aldo. He's slipping off to the side like he did in his last Cage Warriors fight. You know, there are a lot of different facets to Conor McGregor's game, but the main thing is understanding and controlling that range. And I feel like Khabib's not necessarily got the experience of transitioning through that range against someone of high-level striking like Conor.
Is this peak MMA? Is this as good as it gets?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely it is. These are the two best lightweights on the planet. There's no doubt about it. It's just strange to me that we've got a guy that's predominantly a striker and a guy that's predominantly a grappler. See, because a lot of the time when you talk about peak MMA, we're talking about an MMA fighter, which is someone like Demetrius Johnson, who you know, reigned for so long because he puts it together so well. Whereas Khabib's so strong in one area, Conor's so strong in another. It's the old school you know, striker v grappler situation, but they are, you know, the next stage of evolution of that.
Okay, and I'm not sure if you're comfortable giving one, but if you have a prediction, who's coming out the winner and what happens next?
You know, honestly, I keep going back and forth. If you'd asked me 6 weeks ago, I would have said Khabib probably in 4 rounds, if not by a dominant decision. But the more research I've done, the more ways I see for Conor to win, and the more difficult I see it is for Khabib to get his hands on Conor. So I would probably say I'm 55% leaning towards Conor at this moment in time. That might change by the time the fight comes around. I mean, we've got the media day today. I don't know what these guys are going to say. I don't know what they're going to be like at the press conference as well, because in my opinion, Khabib was biting a little bit yesterday when the fans were booing, and that to me shows that he's actually stepping outside of the game plan that he had for this fight, which was to not give Conor any ammunition to go at him against, and he's now starting to engage a little bit. So I think he might be a bit more aggressive and vocal at the press conference today, which to me is a little concerning. So I hope he holds it down, and I hope he keeps his calm, because then that's me going into the fight this weekend at 50-50. I've got no idea.
Thanks very much, Dan.
Thank you.